Walk. No running in the hall. Go back and walk. Does that ever sound familiar to you? In our very first episode, our very first season, episode 2, we talked about no running in the halls because of a safety concern. When you're trying to get to class in a hurry, and you're fast walking, it's like walk. You run, no running in the halls. When I was growing up in school, that's how it was. Walk. Go back and walk. Because of a safety concern. As we're about to show you, this is one of my favorite running videos ever. We're showing a rival break, and I figured I'd show it to you for our second look. With some common sense. So let's take a look at this one.
It's just so good. You must have a vagina. Get him! Get him! Get him! Wait. I don't have a vagina. He does.
That was kind of my favorite funny video. Along with this one.
Tonight, Alicia went to 4 engagement parties.
There's your common sense right there. No running in the halls. You never know what's going to happen. Poof, that person's in the hospital. These PSAs, if these PSAs weren't even here, they wouldn't have time to explain it. Here's another one, 40 seconds long. Just a 40-second one. Hey, no running in the halls. And this one, 6 seconds.
Hey, no running in the holes.
I said no running in the halls.
Hey, no running in the holes.
Kinda funny. Advertisements to convince kids to eat junk food. What about the advertisers? That's next, as we continue to look into Peter Jennings reporting how to get fat without really trying, as we continue our second look, and later our second look into janitors. Please stay with us. Yesterday, I brought you a second look special into obesity in America. Nearly everybody blames the government. Almost 1 in 3 Americans is obese. Everybody wants to get thinner, everybody wants to exercise, but no one wants to do that. Americans want to get thinner. And yet old and young Americans are getting fatter and fatter and fatter. But we all think it's our own fault. It's not that simple. The food industry is at fault, and the government is at fault. We first started looking into the link between obesity by looking at some corn. The popcorn which you eat. The oil they cook it in, subsidized. And the thing, that's not usually butter, but highly subsidized vegetable oil. And corn in the sweeteners, like this soda. High fructose corn syrup. We also started looking into the grocery items. Now let's take a look at the advertisements. The things that get kids to eat more junk food. Is there a way to stop this? Again, Peter Jennings.
Selling food is a huge business.
It's wonderful.
And behind every ad campaign is a food stylist.
We use margarine most of the time because of the color.
These are the people who make food look irresistible in the advertising.
These drinks look better than real life.
At the Food Stylist Convention in Minneapolis, we learned what it takes to make cereal look perfect.
Do you want to come over to some of the flakes?
That's hair tonic they're using instead of milk, which might wilt the cereal.
My recipe for fake ice cream.
This isn't ice cream, it's Crisco shortening.
And they can light it, they can try big scoops, little scoops. We can play around with this all day long.
Food styling makes all the ads look great, and they can be very seductive.
So rich, so creamy.
The food industry spends $34 billion a year to market their products.
Strawberry.
And these particular ads, who do you think they are designed for?
Kids.
My Pringles, no way.
Kids.
It is estimated that the food industry spent more than $12 billion last year promoting food they want children to eat. It is twice what they spent 10 years ago.
Kids are a very dynamic audience.
Paul Kernett is an advertising executive who specializes in marketing to children. Why is so much time and money spent advertising to children?
Kids are, in many ways, unsocialized. They are fresh-eyed. They are open to new ideas. Kids are big business. There's no question about that.
Most of the food that is advertised to children is processed food, and it is exactly what children are buying.
Yummy.
Children spend more of their own money on food than anything else, more than on CDs or movies or clothes or toys. And the public health implications of children's diets are enormous.
The problem is that most of the foods that are marketed to children are unhealthy foods. And the children are exposed to so many messages about junk food that the cultural norm around food has changed so that children think that they should be getting candy and cookies and chips and soda and these other junky foods all the time.
The average American child sees 10,000 food advertisements a year on television alone. Most of those advertisements are for fast food, sugar-coated cereals, soft drinks and candy, and other foods dense in fat and calories. These are your members. Are you happy to hear those statistics?
Well, I think that companies are trying to market their products responsibly. And if you look at some of the categories that are there, it's not all those foods that are available all the time and advertised on television. But I
They're
think
not
it's
advertising fruits and vegetables on television.
well, they're advertising other options for cereal on television and other snack products as well.
They're baby food desserts. Maybe that's where it starts. And then when kids are 2 years old, they gain the strength to turn on the television set and they see the constant stream of commercials. Then they go to school. And even in schools, there are encouragements to eat junk food.
When you're putting together an advertising campaign, do you care whether the product is healthy or not?
I care that the product has a positive role in a child's life. It is not my fundamental responsibility to be sure that that product in and of itself fulfills a complete diet.
Have you played a role in making less healthy products appealing to children, thereby increasing their desire for those products?
I've played a role in making all kinds of products appealing to kids. And the issue of less healthy is a judgment call that you can make.
But you know what's less healthy. You know where asparagus and soda pop line up.
You are absolutely correct that I am not going to get the same return on investment for a client in advertising asparagus and spinach to a kid as advertising some of the so-called less healthy products for kids. Guilty as charged.
Don't you know nothing?
Have you noticed how most food is marketed to kids, directly to kids?
Dabble your applesauce and turn it green.
They put cartoon characters all over the package, including characters from Disney, the parent company at ABC News.
Candy for breakfast?
They turn candy into breakfast cereal.
Ooh, snack time at bedtime.
They encourage kids to eat junk food in school. And they tell kids they can win money if they buy certain foods.
Find the one Oreo that turns your milk blue, and you're good with $1 million.
They probably won't get a lot of money. But if children eat them, they will get a lot of calories. And if you are the parent of a small child, we can almost guarantee that they're asking you to buy some of this. That's what the industry wants kids to do.
Parents that I talk to who have young children tell me that the last thing in the world they want to argue with their kids about is food. And the marketers know that. And so they deliberately target the advertising to generate what they call a nag factor. My kids, for example, pestered me endlessly to buy Lucky Charms cereal, which was the one that we had the most fights over when they were young. And every now and then I'd let them get it. It was too much trouble arguing with them.
And here is something ironic. The people who make the ads often blame parents for not protecting children from the effects of the advertising that they've created.
More often than not, children who nag their parents to buy them any kind of product are children and parents in whom the relationship is fundamentally flawed.
Sounds a little bit like you're criticizing the parents for not doing a good enough job.
I am. I think that there is a parental abdication of responsibility and limits in terms of what is appropriate for their kids.
If companies think that parents should be making decisions about their children's food, then they should market child-oriented food products to parents. But they don't. They're bypassing the parents, and they're talking directly to our kids and trying to get our kids to nag us to buy their unhealthy products.
Snack!
Children's diets are clearly influenced by all this advertising.
Let's eat.
There is so much research to show that what you show children on TV affects their intake, and the amount of children's TV that's dominated by food, and the total amount of our TV budget that's dominated by food commercials is enormous.
All the marketing to children is feeding an epidemic of childhood obesity. 15% of all children between 6 and 19 are overweight or obese, and that is nearly 9 million children. Many children already show signs of the serious diseases that result from being overweight.
Our children eat so badly nowadays that a quarter of elementary school-age children already have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or some other risk factor for heart disease. These are little kids, and they already are on their way to a heart attack.
Very young children are now showing signs of type 2 diabetes, a terrible disease that was never seen in such young children before.
The diet of many American children may already be condemning them to a lifetime of illness.
Why are we allowing companies to market junk foods to young children? It's like having door-to-door salespeople knock on the door and say, "Ma'am, I'd like to talk to your young child alone if you don't mind," and then encourage the kid to eat junk food. No parent would ever allow that.
Is there any way to stop this? When we come back.
Everybody wants it to stop, but could it be stopped? When we return, we're going to look at regulating the ads from junk food to promoting healthy food. Could it ever be stopped? Please stay with us. Back to our story. We've seen how advertisements can convince children to eat less healthy foods and more junk food, like, the chips, the kid cuisines. I used to love this when I was a kid. To even the cartoon characters that you see on the Campbells, even on the snacks. Believe me, I once wanted those when I was a kid, but Mom was like, no. But could there be any way to stop these advertisements or reaching the minds of kids to stop eating less junk food and eat more fresh fruits and vegetables? We remember back in 2012 when President Barack Obama was president, Michelle Obama wanted to get kids more healthy. The federal guidelines shifted the lunch tray around, but McDonald's was the perfect right roll of potatoes. Now there was a lot more fruits and vegetables, all the stuff your mother wants you to eat. Except mother now is Uncle Sam. So could there be any way to stop the advertisements? Once again, here's Peter Jennings.
Hey, I got a nice Hawaiian coat.
Sure.
This is where the food industry learns how to sell food to children.
Who else likes chips? Who else eats chips as a snack?
These children are part of a paid focus group at C&R Research in Chicago.
If I eat this, I will feel how, because why?
These researchers are trying to learn what makes kids want certain foods.
And did you try the colored ketchup? No. You didn't try it? Why not?
They're like disgusting.
Okay.
And on the other side of the one-way mirror, the researchers are gathering data that will help food companies tailor their advertising to children.
Children are more susceptible to marketing than adults are because they don't understand the intent of marketing. They don't understand that a marketer may exaggerate claims or isn't completely truthful, or that someone is trying to sell them something.
Study after study shows that younger children simply do not understand what advertising is all about. That young children cannot comprehend how advertising is manipulating them.
Children cannot be expected to exercise critical thinking or personal responsibility about food choice until they're quite a bit older. The exact age is a matter of some research debate, but 8-year-olds certainly fall below it.
Do you think it is fair or even ethical to advertise to children below 7?
I'm not sure what the cut point is ethics, but one of the amusing aspects in my current professional life is I get calls from very high-level executives of very, very large food companies asking me questions like, what do you suppose the cut point should be to marketing to children? Do you think it's okay to market to 18-year-olds? What about 15-year-olds? What about 12-year-olds? They know they're doing something wrong. They know they are.
What do you think is an appropriate age to begin advertising to a child?
In our judgment, we think, 6 is a better place to draw the line. We think kids are a little bit more mature then. They're in school, they're out in the world, they're beginning to experience things beyond the home, and they have a little bit more judgment.
Do you foresee a possibility in the future that you might not advertise to children who are under 8 or 10?
This is a topic that society is going to continue to debate. And, I don't think the last chapter has been written on this book.
Kraft seems to know that they're under some pressure. They say they won't intentionally design ads for children under 6, and they have recently stopped advertising in schools. Other than that, in America, kids are fair game.
Honey Sweet Crunchy Crave.
But not everywhere else. Italy prohibits all ads on cartoon shows. Australia doesn't allow advertising during television programs for preschoolers. Norway and Sweden prohibit all television advertising to children under 12. In the U.S., there are no laws whatsoever prohibiting the food companies from advertising any food to children of any age. The companies and the advertisers like it this way.
Has it ever occurred to you that children should be protected by the government from certain food advertising?
It has occurred to me, and I think it would be a very dangerous precedent. In a free society, in a commercial society, where we advertise legal products to various consumers, advertising legal products to kids in a responsible and ethical way should definitely be permitted.
Of course, you cannot advertise cigarettes on television anymore. The government does try to protect children from cigarettes. And some years ago, one government agency did try to protect children from food advertising. In the late 1970s, the Federal Trade Commission began investigating the marketing of unhealthy foods to children. Michael Perchuk was chairman at the time.
We certainly made a judgment that advertising to young children was unfair. That within the meaning of the law was unfair because children don't have the capacity to deal with it.
Breakfast for everyone.
The Federal Trade Commission made a couple of stunning proposals. Either ban ads for sugar-coated foods to children under 11, or ban all television advertising to children under 8.
I was convinced then, and I'm convinced to this day, that our case was sound on the facts, the impact of advertising on children and the health of children, and that it was sound in the law.
I think this is absolutely stupid to come in here and ask that we now give to the FTC unlimited jurisdiction.
What we're trying to do is to say to the FTC, stop it.
In no time, the FTC was under attack.
The huge mistake was not to gauge the political impact, and especially the power of the food lobby, the broadcasting lobby, and their friends in Congress.
It got really ugly. There were even threats to shut down the FTC.
We could ensure that not only the staff members no longer there, but the commission members themselves are no longer there.
So the FTC had its head handed to it by Congress. And legislators and the Federal Trade Commission remember that. And for the last almost 25 years, there's been essentially no talk about limiting junk food or other advertising aimed at children.
25 years. And since then, according to the Surgeon General, obesity among children and adults has become the most pressing public health issue in the nation.
Clearly, when you look at the consequences of the public health crisis we have today, government has got to step in. It's no different than tobacco was 20 or 30 years ago. We told people don't smoke. But until we really started to get serious about it and make changes, look at the escalation of healthcare costs associated with tobacco smoking. The exact same thing is happening now in terms of food choices.
So will government step in?
You, in fact, sir, said at one point you would give awards to people who behaved better in the food industry.
That is correct.
What happens if they don't behave better? Then what are you going to do?
Once you start giving out awards for a particular company, particular fast food industry recipient, or a soft drink, I think the other ones are going to say, you know, I want the award next time and I'm going to do more to get it. I think it's much better to be on the positive side than the negative side.
The Bush administration urges Americans to exercise more and eat healthier. But there is no sign that government will obligate the food industry to change how they make and market food. And no sign whatsoever that government will try to change agricultural policies so as to benefit the public health.
After this video was aired, lots of schools used it as a way to get kids to learn all about health. I mean, when I was growing up in school, we had to be watching stuff like this. We watched Super Size Me. We were in health class. I think it was fourth or fifth grade health. We watched Super Size Me. It was an educational show for all kids to watch. And even after this aired, lots of schools got copies of this. I'm not making this up. This is what the description says. This is what it says right here. Within days of this document airing, schools across the country requested copies for use in their classrooms. Tuition scholars are redirecting their research to examine the relationship in agricultural subsidies. DW's academic. The chairman of the FTC has indicated that food marketing is an area which agency became more involved. In the California's legislature scheduled a screening program that they were considering restrictions on marketing junk food to children. So therefore, this is what you got. And Super Size Me, that was an old show from when so you were in health class. You had to watch Super Size Me, and then you had to take notes. That's how it was. So take your pick. And if you want to get that videotape, I think you can get on DVD. I'm on my VHS. No, I think you can. You can get it on DVD, but I don't think you can get it on VHS. They probably stopped selling VHSs. You can watch an archive. Just go to Google. You click on the shopping tab. Just type in DVD. And you can get it on Amazon. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. Get it on Amazon for a good price. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it on Amazon Prime. That's how you can really get the show. So take your pick: Super Size Me or How to Get Fat Without Really Trying Without. It's basically your choice. How would you like to be a school custodian at a New York City school? Coming up next, we're going to take a second look into school custodians by visiting a New York City school, which one custodian worked 4 hours out of 8 hours and spent the rest of his day cleaning up his yacht. Stay with us. Oh, before we continue on, one thing I want to point out here. This is the DVD you can get on Amazon, the Peter Jennings Report. And if you have Prime, you can actually watch it on Prime. But if you want it free, you can watch it on YouTube or Vimeo. Just look up Peter Jennings reporting How to Get Fat Without Really Trying, and it'll get you that. $10 on Amazon, $3 delivery, $4 delivery, tax, whatever. Just take your pick. I got this 6 years ago, and it was great. Now, shifting gears here. Imagine a job that pays nearly double the national average. A job where virtually no one would even check and see if you show up for work. A job where if you haven't got yourself on a payroll, you get a friend across town, put them on his or someone else's. But if it sounds like you clean up on a job, then you'd be right. Just apply to the New York City Board of Education, and then tell them you like to be a school custodian. Here's Steve Crawford, our second. As we first told you about this a couple seasons ago, it doesn't mean pushing a broom. So here's Steve Crawford, our second look.
Cleaning up as a New York City school custodian doesn't mean pushing a broom. Custodians are more like building superintendents than janitors. They're responsible for keeping the school well-maintained and clean. They hire their own staff, and thanks to the work rules, even they don't have to sweep very often. New York City school custodians have a list of perks, pay, and privileges that stuns almost anyone that's visited the rundown, dirty schools that make up much of the system. This is Erasmus Hall in Brooklyn, a building where 3,000 students try to get a high school education. The Board of Education didn't want 60 Minutes taping in its school corridors, but the president of the Erasmus Hall Parents Association offered to take us and our concealed camera on a tour. Up the dirty stairwells, and down hallways covered with graffiti.
This is like 32 miles of the New York subway.
There was peeling paint everywhere and broken drinking fountains.
We've only got 2 water fountains operating in the school.
Then we went into the bathrooms.
There's absolutely no privacy and no facilities for cleaning yourself up appropriately.
And when the sights didn't shock you, the odors did.
What is the smell?
We have apparently some sewage leak underground. The odor is unbelievable. It's like living in a cesspool.
And everywhere, broken windows.
How long have these windows been broken?
The windows have been broken for weeks.
No one is claiming it's easy to maintain old and long neglected schools, but almost everyone we talked to thought school custodians weren't doing the job as well as they should.
Tell me about Mr. White, the custodian. Is he ever here?
Mr. White, as I know it, and I'm here approximately every day, is here maybe a few hours a day. I've even had cleaners complain that he's seldom on the premises.
On the day we waited to see Mr. White, it was after 2 p.m. when he pulled up to the school gate. He was gone by 4:15. None of this is a surprise to John Fager, chairman of the Citywide Parents Coalition. He began to get interested in the custodial system 8 years ago, when the principal of his children's school called to tell him that the cafeteria was so filthy it had been cited for a health code violation.
Can you imagine 1,000 kids eating in a small cafeteria? By the end of the week, if you only scrub it once a week.
They only have to scrub it once a week?
They only scrub the cafeteria floor once a week.
How often do they have to clean the classrooms?
Every other day.
Every other day?
Every other day.
How often do they have to mop the floors?
They mop 3 times a year.
You're kidding.
No, they mop and wax 3 times a year. It's a basic sweeping. That's what goes on every other day.
What do they do the rest of the time?
No one really knows.
New York School's Chancellor Joe Fernandez is the latest in a long list of reformers who have tried to sweep away a bizarre set of contract regulations and work rules that allows the city school custodians to clean up all the way to the bank. Fernandez says it's a problem he began to deal with on his very first day on the job 2.5 years ago.
I walked into my office and I saw these telephone wires that were laying around the floor all over the rug. And I asked for the custodian to come up to clean the thing, and I was told that they don't vacuum it until next week. This is so scheduled. Of course, I hit the ceiling.
Do the custodians paint?
Yeah. However, they only can paint up to 8 feet. Some of these things I'm going to tell you are going to sound ludicrous, but it's the reality. It's a jurisdictional issue with the painters union.
I want to make sure that I've got my figures right, because we've been told that the average base salary for a custodian in New York City is $58,000 a year.
Yeah, that's the average, right?
Which is $20,000 more than a teacher makes.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely correct. That's one of the problems I have.
That salary gap is not a problem for James Kelly, the custodian at Intermediate School 70 and the president of Local 891 of the International Union of Operating Engineers, the 1,000-member custodians local.
To compare us to teachers is a very unfair comparison.
Why not?
It's not our fault to begin with that the Board of Education does not pay its teachers enough. But I think it's unfair to compare us to teachers. First of all, we work all year round. Teachers work about half the hours we do. So just in time alone, the hours we spend in the school building versus what a teacher or anybody else in the building other than us spends, there's a big difference there.
That's the justification for the $20,000 salary.
I would say so.
You think your men are underpaid?
Absolutely, of course.
Kelly blames the shape the schools are in on the Board of Education. He says it sets the cleaning schedule, not the union, and that custodians' work orders for major maintenance languish in the board's backed-up bureaucracy. But teachers, principals, and parents we talk to think that the custodians could be doing a lot of the work themselves.
The joke among the principals is when they die and they want to come back to earth as custodians.
Reincarnate as a custodian, that's not a bad idea. I often tell the story when I first got here to New York and I went to visit a school in the South Bronx. It was a very nice school, very well done, but I walked into the front door and I saw this person in a suit, shirt, and tie, and I thought it was the principal. I went over and introduced myself. It was the head custodian with his own office and everything.
His own office often means his own secretary, and his own secretary often means his own wife, and an additional $25,000 to $30,000 in family income.
While nepotism was banned in a rare contract reform, relatives and wives already on the payroll were grandfathered into their jobs. And today, according to school administrators, custodians simply get around the rule by hiring each other's wives.
There are custodians who have other custodians' wives working for them, that's correct.
Good practice.
Well, it's not so easy to find capable people all the time to do a particular job, so.
They hire their wives.
They can hire their wives. They can hire
They
their
can't,
wives.
so they hire someone else's wife. They hire one of their friends' wives.
Almost all married women are somebody else's wife, right?
It sounds like a pretty good job.
Yeah, I guess if you want to make a lot of money and you want to get some of your family working and you want to have a Jeep and a lot of other perks, it's a great job. You know,
Jeep?
So Jeep. Yeah. The Board of Ed spends $1 million a year subsidizing the custodians purchasing of Jeeps.
Why do they need a Jeep?
Well, Steve, you're not aware of this, I know, but according to the contract, New York City is in a snow belt, and we have a 5 out of 12 months of snow season. So the board spends buys 5 12s of the Jeep, and the custodian buys 7 12s, but after 5 years, guess who ends up owning the Jeep outright?
The custodian.
The custodian. Right.
How much money would it cost you to get the schoolyard plowed if it snowed? If you were going to go out and hire somebody to do it?
It'll cost you nothing, because in New York City, you wait till 3 o'clock that afternoon and it all melts.
Earlier this year, Chancellor Fernandez put a hold on buying new utility vehicles, no matter what brand everybody calls them Jeeps, by insisting that custodians get his personal approval before every purchase. It's a rule the custodians union expects to overturn in arbitration.
I may lose that, but at least we're fighting a good fight on this. You speak to anybody out there, and they will tell you that the custodial contract has to be changed, that there are things in the custodial contract that can't stay in there any longer.
Fernandez isn't the first person to say that. The Women's City Club of New York said the same thing in this report, and that was back in 1942. Over the years, the Board of Education has been unwilling to take on the politically powerful union, and local principals have been afraid to take on individual custodians who run their schools as private fiefdoms.
You can go out and talk to principals, and if they're courageous enough, some of the principals will tell you is that they're afraid of giving the custodians a bad evaluation because they'll take it out on them in other ways of maintaining the building.
We took the chancellor's advice and tried to talk with some principals. We called more than 3 dozen. Plenty had tales to tell off the record, but not in front of our cameras. One principal who was willing to talk was later instructed to cancel her interview by her district superintendent. A matter of personal safety, he told her. 2 others said that they'd had their tires slashed after talking to reporters. Finally, we found one principal willing to speak out. Gloria Rakovic at Brooklyn's High School of Telecommunications told us the biggest problem is the custodians don't work for the principal. She has no control over her school's maintenance schedule, budget, or custodial staff. The custodians answer only to a central maintenance office. Mrs. Rakovic says her present custodian does a good job, but in the past, she's been saddled with what she calls
the vanishing custodian. Recently I had one who was absent for 75 days out of the school year.
Which is what, 180 days?
180 days, so you're figuring you're almost at a 50% absentee rate. There are emergencies that happen in the building. The custodian is my technical consultant. I need that person. I depend on that person.
And you had one custodian that was here barely half the time?
That's right. Exactly.
Is the case of the vanishing custodian fairly common in New York City?
One of the issues at hand from colleagues that I hear about simply is, I don't know where my custodian is.
They may not know, but Ed Stanzik does. Stanzik, a former rackets prosecutor, is the independent special commissioner for investigation from New York schools.
There are people who conduct completely different careers outside the school on Board of Ed time. We have a custodian who's a charter pilot for hire, flying people around the country on Board of Ed time.
Owns his own plane.
That's right. We have another custodian who's a practicing real estate attorney. We got complaints from the principal he could never reach the custodian because he was in court. That's not the same thing as someone calling in sick so they can go fishing.
The overwhelming majority of custodians are right on site at all times. There are any number of reasons you have to go out, leave the building or leave the site to do a particular thing. But our men are on the jobs.
Mr. Kelly is apparently unfamiliar with William Ryan, New York school custodian. Mr. Ryan is custodian of a school administrative building in Brooklyn. On the day we followed him, one of the many days where Ed Stanzik's investigators followed him, he arrived at his building at 8:45. He left on errands twice in the morning, and by 11:45 he was gone for the day. After a leisurely lunch at a seaside restaurant, it was off to Long Beach, Long Island, and an afternoon aboard his 34-foot cabin cruiser. All of it on school time.
In the time that we've been watching him, at least half of that time, he's been outside the school working on his cabin cruiser while he should have been in school and was getting paid to be in school.
How many William Ryans are there out there?
I can't give you a number. I can tell you that there's 100 or 200 William Ryans out there. I can tell you that as we've looked at the problem both historically up to the present day, the cases that we're doing, it's a persistent enough problem that you can't just say it's a couple of bad apples.
But Stanzik says vanishing custodians are only part of what his investigation has turned up. Remember those Jeeps? Well, like everything else the custodians pay for, from floor wax to computers,
the money for his salary, his workers' salaries, and his expenses comes payable to him personally. It typically goes into his personal checkbook with the money.
He gets a check from the city and he just puts it in his bank account?
That's right. And it gets mixed up with the money he uses to buy his groceries and make his car payments and everything else.
Is there any oversight at all?
There is oversight, but a system like that has many opportunities for someone with larceny in his heart to get around the controls.
In the last couple of years, you've had to cut $750 million out of your budget. You've had to do away with programs. You've had teachers' jobs on the line. Why can't you change this?
It's a matter of what's in the contract and what has to be implemented. We are looking, as I said, at the entire custodial contract. I would love to be able to pay teachers what we pay custodians.
Do you understand how ridiculous that sounds?
Of course it's ridiculous. Of course it's ridiculous.
And New York City's not alone. In many big cities across the country, more than half the school salary checks every month go to people other than teachers. In New York this week, there was a move to change that. As the result of the special commissioner's investigation, 3 school custodians, including our yachtsman, were arrested. 5 others will probably be fired. And those who aren't will, if all goes according to plan, from now on report to the principal. How does the president of the union feel about this? Well, he's no longer president of the union. He didn't get reelected.
So here's some common sense for you. Don't ever do that. Don't ever leave your site to go to a different job, whatever. Never do that. Never ever. Take a break. Right back. Here's tonight's Vowel Break. Our second look into playing PlayStation. This is what we did. We first showed you this. So we're gonna cut this short here. This was originally made by Bang Jam. Basically, what you do is you take your PlayStation and you take it to a public place.
Okay.
So what you do, take your PlayStation with your TV and the cords and everything, and you take it to a public outlet place like the mall, Walmart, or somewhere, and then you make a video, and it gets like a lot of views. In this case right here, this person takes this guy takes his PlayStation to school, and he plays it in class. And then
We're doing a presentation.
He's practicing a presentation.
He's practicing. It's his presentation. Está loco, no break presentation. No break no. Mira no.
See, look at my remote. Alright, in like 3 minutes, I'm gonna give you a referral. I'll take the referral. That's gonna be my first one. I need to play.
I need to play. And yet, let's see what he does. Everybody's crowding. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Third one. 4 people crowding.
Hey, use my earbuds. You want to use my earbuds?
Hey, I got my beats.
You fucking beats.
Why are you playing team deathmatch?
And yet, he's going.
Alright, I'm collecting the bell work today. You have 5 minutes to do it.
And yet, everybody is freaking crowding to find the room. Everybody. I do mean everybody.
It's a vlog. Don't worry. Don't worry about it.
I guess this is gonna be the end of the video. I couldn't get enough footage because my first period teacher was tripping. Like, she was actually tripping. I got to set it up for about probably like 10 minutes, and then like she let me sit there play. I got to play at least like not even a full game, but I got to play a game. She let me play, and then like for a little bit she said, "All right, Tyler, it's time to put it away, just in case if security comes, or like teachers walk in and they like evaluate. I should say like they walk in, look at the classes, see how the teacher's doing, they evaluate her on the score, see if she's teaching good, yada." So I was in a game of Free For All in Nuketown, as you guys can see in the footage before. I was sniping and then all my classmates were surrounding me. Maybe that's why she told me to put it away. But the reason why I am not getting as much footage as I should is because they did confiscate my PS3 and I got a referral. It says, Tyler set up a computer in class and pulled out a controller. I kept wanting him to put it away and he wouldn't. I had to tell him I was going to give him a referral, and he said, I will as soon as I finish this game. So I did get a referral. I got a Saturday school, as you guys can see right there. I would have got more footage, but if it wasn't for my first period, I would have gone through the day and recorded more footage. But hopefully you guys did enjoy. I would have more footage, but same thing. I couldn't do it because of my first grade teacher. And what a way to start off a 3-day weekend. Just giving your kid a referral for playing PlayStation? That's tough. We let people play on your phones. And it clearly says in the rules of school, no phones. But yet, people are still pulling out phones. They didn't say anything about a PlayStation. That's tough. But yeah, referral. I'll take this referral. I'll hang it up. I'll put it in a frame. Playing PlayStation at school. And I'll look back to this video, refer to it, and say, yeah, I'm glad I did that. That's only a once in a lifetime. When I carried the monitor in school, people were like, why are you carrying a monitor? Don't worry, you'll see on my YouTube. Just stay subscribed, put your post notifications. Just say it. Alright guys, hope you guys did enjoy. It's your boy Ames. Peace out. BAIM Squad. Let's get it. If you guys want to send me some videos you guys playing PlayStation somewhere, let me know. I will put you in a video. I'll give you a shout out. You gotta do what you gotta do. This was well worth it.
It wasn't well worth it. It wasn't. You can't be doing that shit. Go do it at your house, your friend's house. You want to go do it at a fast food restaurant, then go right ahead. No, I don't recommend you do that. Don't ever do that, ever. Your PlayStation is going to get confiscated, you're getting a lot of trouble. Take a break, right back. Yeah, just don't ever play PlayStation ever again. If you do so, confiscated, you're going to get kicked out. Any public place, you're done and banned. That's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Saturday going into Sunday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Monday. For everyone here at YouTube, stop bullying, speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. Have a good night. And good luck. And no playing PlayStation in public places. Play at your house. Bye-bye.